the Southern Soul pregame concert on the Chevy main stage. Then Grambling State versus Prairie View A&M. The halftime show, world-famed, versus the Marching Storm. And the post-game concert, TLC, at State Fair Classic. Tickets at Ticketmaster and all usual ticket outlets.
All right, everybody. You're listening live to the HBCU Coaches Corner. I'm Rocky, your co-host, along with my fellow co-host, Mr. Steve Campbell, the detective, the bishop. All things that? HBCU. Absolutely. Mr. Campbell, Coach Cole let me know that he was going to be a little late, and Mr. Symonds is on the way, so we might as well get this party started get this party started quickly.
Yes, sir.
And just as we jump on, the man of the hour is confirmed that he's in. So, but I did want to talk to you for a minute, Campbell, as we close this week out and kind of set this next week up. And we'll go into detail after we have an interview with Mr. Symonds, Coach. Let me ask you this, Mr. Campbell. Would this be the biggest weekend of the season?
Well, let me say this. I said the first week was one of the biggest weeks because of what it meant for so many teams, right? I think this is one of those inflection points because I haven't seen the rest of it, because I think around Magic City Cloud, I think some big games around that time too. But what this does is a table set weekend, because you're talking about playing rivals. You're talking about teams that are playing in division. And once again, you beat a team that's basically pushed you 2 up. So again, you're talking about Prairie View and Grambling. That's a big game. Whoever gets that, 2 up basically. For AMU and Alabama State, 2 up. For Southern, because of the road they got to travel, that Jack State game is basically can put them in a situation where they could actually almost win majority of the game, but because that game could keep them out of the West title. So these are the type of games that we want to see. These are games that I think people are excited to talk about, but this is just one of those pivotal weekends. And I'll tell you again, another sneaky game, or 2 actually, that I think are very important just for the psyche of the coaches and the teams is Texas Southern against Mississippi Valley and Alabama A&M versus Bethune-Cookman. Because if you look at Bethune-Cookman, you don't want to go down, because now you're going to start having people talking about those U-Haul trucks and stuff like that if you're Bethune-Cookman. Now, with our guy T-Buck and, like I said, Chris Dishman come on the show, big game for Texas Southern. They got to win that game. They're 0-3. Mississippi Valley's 0-3. But there was 2 different 0-3s to me. You had a heartbreaking loss to Texas. You had Valley playing really hard against Southern. So you've seen some progress and stuff like that. They had to play Charleston. That's just a tough game. That's a wash. But this is one of those games that I think that Terrell Buckley's like, hey, guys, this is a team that we should be equal to. Now, we might believe that Texas Southern has more talent, which I do. But Coach Buckley's not going to believe that. He's going to look at it and say, how we play. If we execute, we can win this game at home.
No doubt, Coach. I was looking through the schedule, and you know that before the season started, I went through a deep dive over everybody's schedule. And I said, this week and October 25th, those would be very much some weekends that things will kind of sort themselves out, using those 2 weekends to kind of and it's funny, Mr. Campbell, is that, to be honest with you, the season by and large will be decided in these next 5 weeks. Absolutely. Coming up, because we have all of our pivotal games happening in these next 5 weeks, and so it should be an amazing week of viewing for our HBCU fans. And with that being said, I think it's time for us to introduce our guest. This is somebody that is not a stranger to the HBCU ecosystem. This is somebody who has been in sports media for the better part of 40 years and is a true pioneer in Black sports media production. Somebody who is a person who is responsible for bringing HBCU football to network or cable TV. With no further ado, I'd like to bring up this president of HBCU GO, none other than Mr. Curtis Simon.
Rock, how you doing today, man? You doing all right? Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. John's doing his thing as usual. You guys doing a good thing, man. I was just sitting in the background, listen to the rumbles. It sounded good. You know, those kind of conversations I love because it helps get more people excited about what we're trying to do on every Saturday. So you guys are right there in the mix, man. So it sounded good.
Absolutely. Mr. Simon, I was looking over your bio to see how you've impacted this sports. And I was interested to find out that you're from Bermuda.
Yep.
And so with being a Bermudan, what drew you to American football?
Well, it's the fact that that's a good point you're making, Rock. You know, for me, I came over very young to the United States when I was 2 years old. So I did not get a chance to really enjoy Bermuda until I got older. And that was how I actually was brought into the American football and not soccer. That's how it happened. So really, I credit my mother, who was at Central State University, physical education teacher, was there for 40 years. My father worked in the maintenance department for 50 years. So I grew up on the campus of Central State University. So that's how I got my tutelage of American football and learned the best of the best. That's how it happened.
Now, Mr. Simon, now of course, I watched BET growing up. I definitely saw those games on BET. I knew the household brand at that point, which was Grambling. I had heard of schools like Jackson State and Morgan State and things like that. But what I want to ask you, I want to get into it is, what got you guys involved in bringing, and what made you think HBCU football will work on cable TV?
Well, I think, Rock, I go back to my early days. I was at ESPN for 8 years before I came to BET. And so I was there on the grind when ESPN was coming up and trying to make a difference in 24-hour sports. So I saw there that there was opportunity in sports for Black college sports at that point in time. The problem was at BET, we were too early. You know, when I was there from 88 to 2001, I was there 14 years. We just couldn't make a difference at that time in the advertising circle because of the fact that, you know, no one really took Black college sports as serious as it should be taken. And we're still fighting the battle. We're still fighting. It really hasn't gotten to where we made some inroads, but it's still a long ways away from the money that should be supporting these universities and us at the end of the day. But that was my first start of seeing some of the greats that had played in the game, the Jerry Rice, the Walter Paytons, and others that came up through that tutelage at that time and showed the world that, you know, there was a new era of football called HBCU college football. And it allowed people to begin to start opening the doors. Because if you look at the early 60s now and what the pattern was that, you know, PWIs were not even looking at having more Black athletes in their teams as it is today. And that's one of the big headaches for HBCUs, because it's not looked at as the real stomping ground it should be looked at. It's looked at, well, it's like stepping down to the G League, you know, and seeing whether or not I can compete in football, where really you got some great athletes in the HBCU circle. And it's beginning now, the lack thereof of exposure has been the backwards word that has really hurt the HBCU circle. And so that's what made me, when I left BET in 2001, I started thinking very hard, like, you know, there's no one out there giving exposure to Black college sports. ESPN does it, but they, you know, come out of that thread. So they don't do it the way it should be done. So I said, if I could create a channel that can help show the culture, the entertainment, the lifestyle, the history, the legacy of Black college sports, that will start making a difference. And in 4 years, through the Allen Media Group being partnered with Byron Allen, we begin to start making some inroads. You look at, in 4 years, we have now won 6 Telly Awards, which I think is incredible. And we've been up. We had a kickoff show. We weren't able to have it this year. Hope to have it back next year. That will rival game day. And we'll start really bringing in, the atmosphere that should be shown to support Black college sports. And I think the other thing that Rock would really try to make a difference, man, and this is one thing I fought when I was at BT, is that we don't look at ourselves as Black college football. We look at it as programming. When people looked at BT, they would say, how do you get Black entertainment television? I said, no, it ain't Black entertainment television. It's programming. It's entertainment. The same way we've been preaching to, push HBCU GO sports. It's good programming. And, you look at what we did last weekend with the Howard Hampton game in D.C., the Alabama State game, Edgewater, the Thune-Cookman game last weekend in Florida, good football, and it's growing, It's just like I heard you and Mr. Campbell talking when I was coming on. The rivalries are just growing. They're getting better and better, and the games are getting better and better and better. And you're also attracting good talent. And I think coaches out there, when you got more and more NFL guys coming in and want to coach these young men and really try to take them to the next level, that's a good first step. I had a big meeting today with the NFL, because I'm trying to now, take it to another step and partner with the NFL to grow HBCU GO. We did a simulcast this year with NFL Networks with the Hall of Fame game. They drew 200,000 viewers.
Wow.
That was a major win for NFL Network. They had never had that kind of numbers, And so if we can begin to provide that kind of exposure, hopefully we won't keep seeing the NFL drafting one guy out of HBCUs. We all know, sitting on this thread right here today, that there is quality players that can play in the NFL and should be drafted, but they don't have that exposure that really gets them out there to where the scouts and others pay a lot more attention to not just the name, but the player, and that's one thing that, hopefully we can push out harder and harder and try to grow that.
Now, Mr. Symonds, I want to give our audience a chance to welcome our featured host, which is the SWAC legend himself, Johnnie Cole.
No
and so as he come on here, he's very timely person. He just happened to have a conflict, and I just wanted to, but I did let the audience know he would be running a little behind.
Well, Rocky, you got to understand, when a man lives in Arizona, it's kind of hard to have time to be on a thread like us. He might have been on the golf course. Don't let Johnny fool you. He might have been on the golf course. It's nighttime in his area.
Yeah, they got way more daylight than I do.
You got that
over here,
and it's very good and warm. So you never know.
Man, hey, see, they don't understand, Kurt. This family here, this Central State Marauders,
ain't no question. Ain't no question.
Mr. Symonds, let me ask you a question, because this is something about and you can go back to back to the days where you worked with ESPN and BET, and even now that working with HBCU GO. One of the things I think that ESPN did with their programming was ESPN did with their programming was they built up programming around their college broadcast of football games and their NFL broadcast of football games. Mm-hmm. Like what they did, I think, is they built shows that could feature those games during the week. We know the games were on the weekend, but they had NFL Live, they had college sports game day, and all these anchor shows that could be viewed probably more than once a week, or even bookend around the broadcast of the game.
Right.
In your opinion, do you think that's something that the HBCU product could benefit from, kind of extending and expanding the conversation around the games and the pageantry that happens around the game, and essentially increase the popularity of the sport.
Well, I think you're right on point on that, right? That's a very good point you're making. I think that as I was saying earlier, I had this meeting with the NFL, Troy Vincent and his team today. I think that one of the things that we have to do a better job, including HBCU GO, is learn to market the product better. For us, we do the games on Saturday, and Johnny was part of my TV, was part of my announcers last year. And one of the things that we don't do enough of is promote the product well, Monday through Friday. We have made it to the point where it becomes a silo event, at the end of the day. Now, what we're beginning to do is been taking time. We're trying to build up on it. We still got a long way to go. We treat Saturday as our Super Bowl, so we're doing everything we can on Saturday to deliver the best product we can. And let me just say this. I felt very good with Byron Allen when we first started this thing, because one of the things I told him when we partnered up was that, and when he bought my network, was that, listen, we have one shot. If we don't deliver a quality product, people are not going to stay around. And so in our first year, we delivered a good product. Second year, we took it up another notch. Better people, better producers, better announcers. The third year, we worked hard. We worked hard on the brand. This year, we wanted to increase what we were doing, more classics, more homecomings, more rivalries, and begin to start building the brand inside that. Now, to your point, we've got to build some shoulder programming around it so that we can really grow the atmosphere of what Black college sports is all about, and not just leave it at one day, which that's what's been the headache in Black college sports, is that it's limited to one day, that Saturday, and so if we can get that support from the advertising community to step up and give us that advertising dollar to allow us to do more shoulder type program and other things like you're talking about, that's going to be the difference. And we're slowly but surely getting there, So yes, I think there's a lot of room for it. I mean, it's to the point, I'll tell you guys something that we're working on. I mean, I'm going over, I didn't even know this. Our sales team is bringing me in on this, but there's a big international sports conference called Sportstown over in Monaco, October 20th through the 22nd. And one of my guys that's heading up our international division has been cluing me in already for meetings in October. But already we're getting some good interest international. We got a group out of Nigeria that wants to take HBCU GO and start airing that on their platform in Nigeria. That's 220 million homes.
Wow.
So if we can start spreading that word internationally, which that's what the NFL has done a great job of doing, and ESPN has done the same too, it will really start, I think, opening more doors, to start getting people to really start saying, what is this HBCU sports that's going on? I like what it is. And, I think one of the things that I credit the teams that they have improved themselves, it was always known for the entertainment of the bands, but now the product's gotten better. The football's gotten better. So that's another step forward with the bands to really make the product a good product at the end of the day. I think that's one of the things that bringing some of the NFL coaches in, I think looking at the presidents are starting to get more serious on the athletic side. I think you're going to see a few good things down the road that's going to intensify the sport.
Go ahead, Mr. Campbell. I know you probably have something you, as our HBCU historian.
Well, I like Mr. Campbell's banner. You got a good banner. Back.
See. Now, Mr. Simon, I don't know if you remember, you and I talked maybe about a month ago about an idea I had, and we talked, and you made reference. I told you that my father worked at WOK with Charlie Neal.
Yes. Thank you.
So, I appreciate you being on, and one of the things I wanted to represent, because this is a prideful moment, because again, looking at the through line of Charlie Neal and seeing your legacy and what you brought. So I wanted to start with, when you started, you said something that I think a lot of people give them credit for, the level of quality that the broadcasts are. And again, I know this, people say this is kind of a joke. I know that's, you understood, but we've seen other networks where the quality is not the same. Was that something when Byron Allen brought you in? Was that something that you stood on the table saying, if we're going to do this, we have to have this high level of quality that matches ESPN, Fox, Amazon, et cetera, et cetera?
No question. I mean, that was one of the first things when I sold my network to Byron 4 years ago. That was the first thing that I put heavy duty on. When I was able to get a 10-year deal with the SWAC, 10-year deal with CIAA, 10-year deal with SIAC, I wanted to make sure we delivered the best of the best. I wanted people to leave their TVs and say, this is a great product, and they are really put. And really, I applaud my team. I've got, Johnny knows, he's been around me, so he's worked with my team, and my team really is buttoned up. And I was fortunate because I have, at least 4 to 5 people who work with me at BT, and so they know the way I grind, and they grind just like me, So we have been able to really build out. I mean, to the point, last weekend before last, when we did the New York Classic, you had Morehouse and Howard. Here we are setting up one truck at the stadium. CBS was there because they had the Sunday game with the Jets and the Bills. They had 3 trucks set up to do the game on Sunday. CBS did. Okay. So I met a gentleman from CBS. They let me walk through the truck, and I got in conversation with a guy who knew of me, and we talked. He called me on Monday and said, "Hey, Mr. Symonds, I got to give you credit, man. I watched your game on Saturday, and I'm gonna tell you, you're right up there with us. I mean, the quality, the way you guys handle things, the way your field work was done, it was top notch, man. I just got to give you credit." And that was a great feeling. That was a great feeling coming from someone who had been at CBS for over 15 years. To know that we're in that range, that we're really being ready. And I got to tell you, because, like Rock was saying earlier, with my experience in the media business and from the ESPN, the BT Life, I have a lot of people watching the network from other networks. I want to know what I'm doing next, what I got going on next. Because everyone knows whatever I've been a part of, I'm a grinder. So I'm gonna make it work some kind of way. And I think that we have done a tremendous job through my team of really starting to rise the level. And Johnny can tell you when he introduced how he felt. I'm sorry we didn't get Johnny to get some games this year, but we're gonna work on that. But the fact of it is that the quality is important. The quality is important, and so yes, we work very hard on trying to be the best of the best out there.
Well, you've always been a person of innovation and marketing. I heard that you're talking about how can you expand it when more people watch. Have you talked to the commissioners of the various athletic associations where potentially, because I think one of the greatest things when I see HBCU go is that alumni, I like to say, are still in the game. They're able to watch the game because, hey, I'm in Chicago, I can't get to Jackson. Hey, I'm in Washington, D.C., I can't get to Tallahassee, a big game in Tallahassee. Have you talked to the commissioner where maybe there's some synergies where you can work directly with alumni associations, where there are viewing parties, where there is programming on the big boards at the games and things like that? Has there been any thought? Because I think there's an opportunity, because these watch parties have now become a big thing where they'll go, to a sports bar because they're able to watch it on HBCU GO, because now it's on the channel. You don't have to listen to a radio or internet broadcast. Have you ever thought about maybe using those type of avenues to expand it?
We're definitely on that. I have a young lady by the name of Shannon Henderson. She's my campus engagement person. And her job over the last 4 years, she's done a tremendous job as one person, is to work with those kind of ideas. In fact, when we did the first game with Hampton and Jackson State, Hampton created, these watch parties. They had all the students come out to the stadium and shot it and did a watch party in the stadium, through also their alumni group. through different areas. And we're seeing that happen in other places. I think you're going to see a big pop when we do the Jackson State Grambling game, the Las Vegas Classic, October 25th, where I think there's going to be a lot of that you're talking about happening across the country, because, I think it's a good ride to Vegas. I'm hoping people come. They keep telling me tickets are going very good there. But I think, to your point, we're trying to develop a lot of that with the alumni chapters. I mean, we're working with United Native College Fund, working with Thurgood Marshall. We're working with every group we get our hands on to do different things to try to get more butts in the seats. I mean, that's my goal. My goal is I just asked at the Howard Hampton game. We had a luncheon or breakfast rather before the game, and so President Williams from Hampton brought to the breakfast a lot of Hampton students. So I had 3 or 4 minute group. I said, let me ask you a question. I've been really trying to work on this on the Gen Zs. What does it take? I mean, and I look at PWI games, the students are breaking their necks to come into the game. Okay. But when you go to HBCUs, you don't see the student base like it is in the PWIs. Why is that? One of the young men gave me a great idea, that I'm going to try to push out some more. He said, Mr. Symonds, one of the things that I think should happen is, the school doesn't promote the games internally enough.
100%.
So, they don't have like a social page that just focuses on promoting the event and coming up with ideas to draw the Gen Zs into the stadiums. So he said that's one of the areas I would say. And then, the other thing is for the Gen Z is try to make it more entertaining flowing, around the game, So I think that's one of the things that we got to continue to work hard because, and I was a victim of it for many years at Central State. Johnny can tell you, I graduated in 78. I haven't missed a homecoming because I grew up on the campus. I haven't missed a homecoming. I'm 70 now, probably in 50 years. I've been there. How many games have I been inside of? Even when I was at school. It's a good question. Good question.
I will say one thing, and I'm gonna turn. But you just hit something. One of the things when you look at and the SWAC, I'm gonna use the SWAC and SEC because it's funny the dynamic how the SEC rolls based off the SWAC's back because they basically took our athletes.
No question.
But one of the things with the SEC that I think, because I'm a SWAC kid, grew up.
Mm-hmm.
Saw the greatest players. I've seen every great player that come through the SWAC and the MEAC.
Gotcha.
But one of the things that I think that we have done a poor job with the Gen Z, we don't teach them how to be fans of the football game.
Bottom line.
So when you go to Alabama, when they play Tennessee, that third Saturday in October, it means something. Those kids understand the history of that. They understand what that is. When Ole Miss and LSU play, they understand Billy Cannon running on Halloween night. Those are things that are key in mind. We don't do that at FAMU. We got Bullet Bob Hayes. Are we talking about those great games that he's played against some of our rivals or Jackson State against Walter Payton, playing against Southern? I mean, these are things that are historic, that are huge games that we don't, as they say, we don't train our students. So if I come to the game, I don't understand the magnitude of a Jackson State and Southern. I don't understand the magnitude of an Alabama State and which is going to be on your channel in Florida A&M. Right. So I just think that I'm so glad because I see the disconnect of these students not understand the magnitude of these great games that they're showing on your network.
Well, I think you just hit it right down the nose. I mean, I rise students every day about not knowing your history, the lack thereof of understanding the greatness of what HBCUs are all about. Not just on the football field, but just at HBCU in general. And the fact that what HBCU does to mold you into the person you are today. And I take a lot of credit to Central State, who molded me into the guy I am today, and they did a lot for me to make me understand, what I needed to do to be better as an individual, and I play basketball Central, but at the end of the day, to your point, and you make a great point that they don't understand that. And we don't do a good job of really educating these young people on why they should be coming to the games. That's a major, major headache that I'm working on. I mean, I ride every commissioner that you got to help me drive butts in the seats at every game. Really for me. And see, one thing that, even when I was at BT, years ago. I'll never forget. I'll tell you this quick story, and then we can move on. You know, we had when I came to BET in '88. Bob Johnson was putting on games 2 weeks. We had a 2-week delay in the games. We weren't doing live football at that time. I finally convinced him to do live football in '89, and so we had to deal with SWAC. So we had a game with Eddie Robinson in Grambling. The commissioner of the SWAC at that time did not tell Eddie the game was going to be live coming out of Grambling. Our trucks show up at the game on Friday, and Eddie's losing his mind. He's like, "Oh, you not coming in here with this truck and airing my game on BET? That's not happening. I'm the live game hurts my gate. You're not," and that's a bad mentality. But that's been a lot of our mentality in the Black community. You know, live TV keeps people away. Like, no, what are you talking about?
Mr. Simon.
Yes.
We're going to take a quick break because I want to talk about this. And this is a great moment for us to take a break and talk about this on the other side of this break. And because everybody watching on the Off Script channel, I want to thank you. We're going to suspend the broadcast on the Off Script channel right after this message.
This year, we're keeping it 100. The 100th Anniversary State Fair Classic, Saturday, September 27th at the world's largest fair. Enjoy the Southern Soul pregame concert on the Chevy main stage. Then Grambling State versus Prairie View A&M. The halftime show, world famed, versus the Marching Storm. And the post-game concert, TLC, at State Fair Classic. Tickets at Ticketmaster and all usual ticket outlets.